Hey friend, welcome to Entrusted to Lead. I'm Danita Cummins, and this is episode 3 of our Clarity season, an 8-episode series on leadership clarity for complex seasons. So if you're just joining us, episode 1 is called Clarity is Not Certainty, and it lays the foundation for everything that we're exploring this season. Episode 2 is naming what's actually yours to carry, and it helps you identify what's genuinely your responsibility and release what isn't. So today we're digging into building on both of those ideas, because once you start getting clear about what's actually yours, once you stop confusing certainty with clarity, then you're going to bump into a harder question: what needs to go? We live in a culture of addition. More is better. Growth means adding more commitments, more responsibilities, more yeses, more service, more follows, more likes, yada, 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 more money. And we feel that pressure everywhere, at work, at home, at church, and in our expectations of ourselves, whether we know it or say it out loud. But sometimes the clarity that you're looking for is not going to come from adding one more thing to your plate. Sometimes it comes from strategically taking something away. So today we're talking about the discipline of subtraction, and I want you to grab your cup of coffee and let's sit with this one together. Here's something I've noticed in my own life and in the lives of the people that I talk to through this podcast and through my newsletter. Most of us don't burn out because we said yes to bad things. We burn out because we said yes to too many good things, right? Good, better, best. It's the parent who's running 3 kids to 4 different activities, volunteering at church, managing a household, and trying to maintain friendships, and can't figure out why every day feels like a sprint with no finish line. Have you been there? Totally, we did. It's the person at work who is on 5 committees, leading 2 projects, mentoring a colleague, covering for somebody else on leave, and hasn't actually had a real lunch break in 3 months. Don't do that. That's not a good idea. And it's the person who serves faithfully in every area that they're asked to. They're the reliable small group leader, worship team, meal train, prayer chain. But then they wonder why Sunday morning fills them with this dread instead of rest. None of those things are bad. Every one of those things that we just listed is genuinely good, right? They're genuinely good. But all of them together, that's not faithfulness. That's a life without any margin. And a life with no margin has no room for the things that matter most, which is your peace, your presence, and your own relationship with God. We are told that good people say yes. The faithful people serve more, and that strong people can handle it all. And so we add, and we add, and we add, and we add, until we are so full of good things that we've lost the ability to tell which ones actually matter. There's a story in Luke 10 that I keep coming back to. It's the story of Mary and Martha. Jesus is visiting their home, and Martha's doing what good hosts do. She's busy with preparations and adding tasks to her list and making sure that everything is ready and everything is just right. But Mary, meanwhile, is sitting at Jesus' feet, listening. And Martha, understandably frustrated, which I'm a mom, I get it, I would be too. She turns to Jesus and she says, "Can you please tell Mary to help me?" But Jesus says something that I think stops most of us in our tracks when we hear him say, "Martha, Martha, you are worried and upset about many things, but few things are needed, or indeed only one. And Mary has chosen what is better." Friend, sometimes few things are needed, or indeed only one. What if that's true for your life right now? What if the clarity that you're searching for won't come from doing more, but from choosing less? Let me be clear about what I'm not saying. I am not talking about laziness. I'm not talking about shirking your responsibility or abandoning things that genuinely need you, the things and the people that genuinely need you. But I am talking about this intentional, honest elimination of good things to make room for the right things. And I'm talking about the courage to say, that was right for a season, but that season has passed. I'm talking about the discipline to choose depth over breadth. Because here's the truth. You cannot do everything well. You just can't. And when you try, you end up doing a lot of things at a surface level instead of a few things with your whole heart. So I'm going to give you 3 categories where subtraction creates immediate clarity, because we're all about clarity this season. Super important. Category 1. Subtract commitments that no longer serve your actual calling. Each one of us accumulates commitments over time. And they probably made sense when we said yes. They met a need and they had a purpose. But seasons change. What was essential 3 years ago might be a distraction today. And yet we keep doing it. We keep paying for it. We keep signing up for it because it's easier to maintain than to end. Because someone might be disappointed. Because I've always done it this way. But your commitment to maintain costs something. It costs either time or attention or energy. And it also costs presence. Have you noticed that lately? And when you're pouring those limited resources into things that no longer align with where God has you right now, you are stealing from the things that do. So I'll give you an example. I talked to someone recently who was involved in 6 different volunteer commitments at their church. 6. And they were exhausted. But not from the work itself, but from this constant switching between roles, right? And we have a whole podcast on that, like how you save 40% of your mindset. You can go check that out by multitasking and switching all these tabs that we have open in our brain, all the open loops. But when they looked at what was going on in their life and they did it honestly, 2 of those commitments lit them up. Like they were super passionate about it and they loved them. The other 4 things that they said yes to years ago, they had never revisited. They just kept doing them. And when they finally had the courage to step back from those other 4 with honesty and care, something shifted. The 2 things they kept, they could show up for them fully with energy, with presence, and with joy. Subtraction didn't make them less faithful. It made them more available for the things that were most important to them. Category 2 is subtract relationships that consistently deplete you. This is super important to me, but I also know that this one needs care. I am not talking about walking away from people who are going through a hard season. I am not talking about cutting off anyone who's difficult or inconvenient. I'm not saying that. I am talking about the relationships in your life that are fundamentally one-directional. I just had this conversation yesterday where I said relationships are supposed to be reciprocal. When you're constantly pouring out with nothing coming back, or when someone is demanding things or is filled with drama or dysfunction and that consumes your emotional energy without any mutual care, those are signs that maybe these relationships are depleting you and it's something that needs to end. Maybe it's a friendship where you're always the one who calls, always the one who shows up, always the one absorbing their crisis, and they never once ask how you're doing. Maybe it's the family dynamic where one person's chaos becomes everybody else's emergency every single time. Or maybe it's the partnership at work or in ministry or in community that used to be life-giving but has become something that you dread. But I want to be careful because there's a difference between hard relationships and extractive ones, okay? The friend who challenges you, or the family member who asks hard questions, or the colleague who pushes back, those relationships, even if they're uncomfortable, can make you a better person. They are generative. I am talking about the ones that are fundamentally taking. So when you are being used or manipulated or drained without reciprocity, creating a boundary there in that relationship is not selfish. It's stewardship, because every relationship that depletes you leaves you with less to give to the people and to the work that God has actually placed in your life. In category 3, subtract the stories that no longer serve you. And this might be the most important category of all because we all carry narratives about ourselves. Stories we've told ourselves for so long that it feels like facts. And some of them are true and life-giving and they propel us forward. But some of them are old. They're outdated. And they're based on who we used to be rather than who God is shaping us to be. Some of those stories can sound like, if I'm not constantly productive, then I'm no value. Or I have to earn my place by outworking everybody else. Or if I say no, people will think I don't care. Or I'm not the kind of person who gets to rest. That was me. I just found my own mantra here. That's been me for a long time. These stories shape every decision that you make. They limit what you believe is possible, and they keep you trapped in patterns that no longer fit. And sometimes the most clarifying thing that you can do is name them and subtract them. Or to say, that story was true once, but it's not true anymore. And I think even the harder part is to say that the story was never true, It was just something that I believed because someone else handed it to me. For a long time, I carried a story that said if I'm not constantly producing or performing, then I'm not valuable. And it drove me to say yes to everything, to fill every margin and to feel guilty when I rested. And it wasn't until I named that story and really looked at it and wrote a book about our purpose and chasing purpose, like it's a hidden treasure that we're all trying to find, that I could see it for what it actually was. It wasn't truth. It was a weight that I'd been carrying for years. And letting it go didn't make me less effective. It made me more honest. And that honesty created space for my truer story. And that story is that my value is not in what I produce. It is in who I am. So here's what I've learned. Subtraction is always harder than addition. It just is. Because addition feels productive and ambitious, and it feels like forward progress. And subtraction feels like loss or failure or like giving up. But that's not what it is. Subtraction is not weakness, it's wisdom. It's not retreat, friend, it's focus. And it's not giving up. It's just getting honest with who you are and who you want to be. And honestly, it takes a lot more courage to stop doing something than to keep going. It takes more faith to trust God with the empty spaces than to fill it yourself. Faith teaches restraint as much as it teaches action, because not every good idea deserves your energy, not every open door requires your entry, and not every need you notice is yours to meet. That could be someone else's. Jesus modeled this. He didn't heal every sick person. I don't know why. He didn't go to every single town. I don't know why. And he said no to crowds when he needed to pray. He focused his ministry on a handful of people instead of trying to reach every single person at once. He practiced this discipline of subtraction. And if Jesus, who had every reason and every ability to do more, chose less, then maybe we have permission to do the same. Because faithfulness is not measured in how much you do. It's measured by how well you steward what's actually yours. I think I said that last time. And sometimes faithful stewardship means saying, that was good, but now it's time to let it go. So here's what I want you to do this week. And like I said last episode, find somewhere quiet with a pen and a paper, okay? Just honor yourself for the time and space. It doesn't have to be hours, but give yourself 10 or 15 minutes and just ask yourself these 3 questions. What commitment am I maintaining out of guilt or habit rather than calling? And what relationship is consistently depleting me without any reciprocity? And third, what story am I telling myself that is no longer true? Or maybe it never was. I want you to choose one thing to subtract, just one. Try something easy. Don't make it super hard. It doesn't have to be dramatic, and it doesn't even have to be public, but it does need to have some intention behind it. And then notice what happens. Notice the space that opens up. Notice the energy that returns, and then the clarity that begins to surface. It takes time. You got to give it a little bit of time. Because sometimes the clearest path forward isn't found by adding more. It's found by gently, faithfully taking something away. So before you go, if you want to know what you bring to the table when you're leading from a clear, honest place, I created a quick quiz called What's Your Leadership Superpower? And it only takes a couple of minutes, and you'll find the link in today's show notes only because it's not posted anywhere else. It's a special quiz just for you guys. And I would love for you to take it, pop over there, take the quiz, and let me know what you think. As always, this is Entrusted to Lead, and I'm Danita Cummins, and thanks so much for being here today. The next episode in the Clarity season, we are going to be talking about leading from your actual authority. Oh, I love that. Authority and influence. We're back there again. And we're going to talk about why so many of us are exhausted. Is that you? Maybe. Because we are trying to influence things that we were never meant to control. We're going to circle back to some topics in the second episode. Make sure you listen to those first 2 episodes and get ready for episode 4. Okay, friends, don't forget to keep showing up every day because you matter, and have an amazing day. I'll see you later. Bye.